Hi. Hi. It's nice to see all of you. When I was 6 years old, my first grade teacher drank a lot of black coffee. And one day, she came up next to my desk after drinking said coffee. I was working on an assignment. And she said, "Hey, how's your homework going?" And immediately I was engulfed in first grade teacher breath. And it was a negative experience. I was holding my breath until she was done talking. And I was red in the face. And I remember at the age of 6 that I hated coffee. And I never thought that I would drink coffee. And what's interesting is I never drank coffee until last year. I made it all the way through college. And I found myself in a very ironic situation. I got my first job working at the Kauffman Foundation in their Entrepreneurship department. And what I started doing is I was working with Kansas City's community to see what can we do to build a dynamic and diverse startup community. What would it take to create a community that fosters entrepreneurship at all levels? And the answer ended up being 1 million cups. So the hypothesis came from the fact that communities are built over cups of coffee, over relationships. So we started with the hypothesis that if Kansas City's entrepreneurs could drink 1 million cups of coffee together, that we could fundamentally change the culture of entrepreneurship in Kansas City. And we started doing this. The program is that each week, 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, we have 2 startups that are typically less than 3 years old present their companies in front of a diverse group of entrepreneurs, mentors, advisors, and other community folks. And this has been a really fruitful experience. I will talk to you a little bit more about it, but we've been going for 1 year, and I decided I needed to get on the coffee bandwagon. So how many of you drink coffee? Many? Okay. Now how many of you remember your first cup of coffee? Okay, much less. Well, I happen to have mine videotaped.
You are about to witness a historic event. I give you my first cup of coffee. Taste number 1. Good.
I never thought I'd find use for that clip, but I actually did. Well, what's funny is I actually didn't really enjoy coffee. I started drinking lots and lots of coffee through this program. And I didn't really enjoy it until this last January, and I actually burnt my tongue on some this morning. But I want to take a look at this idea. So Kansas City, a year ago, was an extremely fragmented startup community. You had people doing tech startups, you had people doing food startups, you had people doing hardware, products, everything from infrastructure to socks. We had everything. But these people weren't connected together. So we started thinking, this would be a simple way that we could do this. But if we look at history, this isn't really a new idea. This is a picture of the Grand Cafe. This is the site of the first coffee house in London. This coffee house sprung up in 1650. Now, this is an interesting thing. I'm not showing you this picture, to give you behind-the-scenes tour of London's coffee houses. I'm showing you this because this landmark represents one of the greatest intellectual flowerings that's happened in the last 500 years. So the coffee house in London springs up in 1650, and it's important for 2 reasons. Prior to 1650, all citizens, rich and poor, drank alcohol. So you would wake up, with breakfast you would drink beer, with lunch you would have beer or wine, and historically at dinner you would have gin. So you can imagine if you were doing this in your own life, it would definitely affect productivity. So at 1650, you have a society switching from drinking a depressant to drinking a stimulant. And so psychologically, you're going to be having more ideas, better ideas. The other thing is the architecture of the space. This is the best picture I could find of a coffee house in that era. And you can see that there's all sorts of different people. They're spread out on the ground. They're exchanging ideas. You know, the best way to describe this is finally there's a place where ideas could come and have sex. They could build off each other. And we know from Stephen Johnson's work, his book, if you haven't read it, it's called Where Good Ideas Come From. We know that you can have great ideas on your own, but we know that some of the best ideas are pieced together from what's around. So when you go and you meet with, you know, a random group of people, diverse backgrounds, the idea is going to reflect those backgrounds. So we started thinking about, okay, the coffee houses in London started the Enlightenment. What does that look like today? What if we could quantify what's happening in the coffee shops all around the country? That's what we're trying to do with 1 Million Cups. Every week, we try to engage the community of entrepreneurs and the community, a broader community, educate them about the awesome ideas that are starting in their city, and accelerate them through mutual collaboration and feedback. So this is a look. We've been going for 1 year. We're at our 1-year anniversary. And we started with humble beginnings. We had 12 people in a room on the first week, and I was grabbing people from the hallways at the Kauffman Foundation. And, you know, we had steady growth. We kept going, we kept having people in. But this weekly cadence that we developed has started to change our city. It's starting to give people a place to go to find like minds. The significant point I want to show on here is GEW. That's Global Entrepreneurship Week. It happens every November. That was the date where I stepped back in my leadership role and I handed the organization over to local entrepreneurs. So now, across all of our cities, 1 Million Cups is an organization run by entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs, out of coffee houses. So the idea started to change Kansas City. It started to get press. People started coming out. We were launching these companies. They're having significant change. So we thought, okay, this is interesting. How do we replicate this program? So we launched in Des Moines, Iowa last November, replicated the program there. They were in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, St. Louis, Houston, and Reno. And people always ask me, well, why are you going to those places? It's because nobody thinks that those places are developing innovative ideas that are going to change our lives. But I have proof that it is. This is a small sample of something that happened, or all the companies that presented one Wednesday 3 weeks ago. So I was in Houston, the first one on the top left there, Deep Space Industries. I was in a coffee house in Houston. I met this guy. He's developing technology to mine asteroids. What? That's incredible. Oh my gosh. I'm like, this guy's on his third space startup. CandyCam, we had a Kansas City company that's building flying multimedia robots. Yellow Velo out of Reno is a plant-based lubricant used for mountain bikes and extreme sports. Fan Addict, another company out of Kansas City that allows you to document your music journey. Bandwidth Pool out of Cedar Rapids, these guys created an eBay for bandwidth. So if you're trying to get a really good price on bandwidth, you should use them. And Healthy for Life University out of Des Moines, which is teaching people about preventative health. And that's just 6 of the 12 companies that came through that week. So what we're trying to do is to showcase the amazing ideas that are happening every single week, everywhere that we go. So I wonder what great ideas have come out of Columbia. What great ideas remain undiscovered here? I have a good example for you. My good friend Tyler Beckett, he started the first organic loose-leaf tea company in the Midwest. Now, we have a large group of coffee drinkers, but coffee internationally is on a decline, and tea consumption is exponentially growing. And so he came to 1 Million Cups in January, and he said, you know, he said to the community, I'd really like to get into grocery stores, but I can't get there because I'm too small of a manufacturer. They will not see me. 3 weeks after he had presented at 1 Million Cups, he had doubled revenues and had been offered 20 hen houses or hen house stores, Price Chopper, and a couple other main grocery stores, and he couldn't supply to all of them. So this is really getting to the point that this is educational, that the community can't help if they don't know what you need. Now, I said that this is an organization run by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. These are the entrepreneurs, there's 14 of them across the country that are putting their time in week and week out to make this happen. So this is a cool visual. This is from 3 days ago, Wednesday, and packed house, 220-ish people. But I want to give a sense, like this is really great, but it's the Kauffman Foundation. People think, oh, of course, it's naturally appealing if you're an entrepreneur. But this is what it looks like in Des Moines. This is Green Grounds Cafe. It's in the heart of Des Moines. This is a Swill Coffee and Wine out of Reno. We had some folks, we also live streamed from Kansas City and a couple other of our locations, that they stopped on a trip back from South by Southwest to watch 1 Million Cups at a McDonald's, which I thought was really cool. St. Louis is hosted out of the PBS station, which has been really exciting for us. Cedar Rapids out of a co-working space, and when they get done hanging out and doing the program, they all co-work together. We have everybody. We invite great ideas to come forth in the community. And I think TEDx is great. I think these events are amazing. And they happen once a year in communities if they're lucky. But coffee shops exist in every community. Great ideas are flowing right now in this community. I wonder what it would be like if we all started to pick up on this more, started to help one another. So this is exciting, We have a packed house every week. There's a lot of exciting things happening, and we're proving that it's working elsewhere. We're going to 14 other cities by the end of this year, and we're going to showcase these companies on our new web platform that's actually going to launch this week. But this is already happening. This doesn't look so different than this. This is old school, you guys. This is not a revolutionary idea. This is getting people together over a cup of coffee and making ideas work. So my challenge to you is, the next time you go to a coffee shop and you forget your headphones, don't cry. Don't get upset. Reach over to the person next to you and say, hey, what's your big idea? Thanks.